In the future, mankind has ventured into space and found it inhabited by hostile aliens, hell-bent on total annihilation of the human race. Luckily, the fighting spirit of humanity remains, and, under the leadership of Super-Earth, they have fought back against these vile threats to liberty lovers everywhere. At the vanguard of this war are the Helldivers, elite shock troops whose only goal is to protect managed democracy and spread freedom, one bullet at a time. My name is Paul Shelley, and welcome to The AstroHistorian. This is a channel dedicated to exploring and explaining the lore of sci-fi and space universes and discussing their impact. Today we'll be looking at the universe of Helldivers and giving you a brief look at the universe of the games. Let's begin with some of the basics. There are two games in the franchise which take place at different points in time. The first Helldivers takes place in 2084, and the sequel is set to take place about 100 years after the first game, likely around 2184. Both games span the galaxy and are co-op shooter games, with the first one taking an isometric approach and the sequel being a traditional third-person shooter. But both take place in a coherent and consistent universe. As a result, the first narrative point that needs to be made clear is the tone of the game itself. Despite the propaganda you see in the games and trailers, the Federation of Super-Earth, the main faction of the game, are not the good guys in this universe. The creators have explicitly said that their inspiration behind the story of the game comes from Starship Troopers and Warhammer 40,000 and many other classic sci-fi narratives, though those two seem to be the anchor of this game. While elements from Robert Heinlein's seminal book of military sci-fi are there, the developers are taking more of a critical eye that filmmaker Paul Verhoeven took to the source material in his 1997 movie. What I mean by this is that Super-Earth, and by extension the Helldivers, the players themselves, are jingoistic military fascists. Whoa. Before you start posting angry in the comments, understand that the point I'm making is that explicitly Helldivers is a self-serious parody of dystopian military sci-fi, or just military sci-fi in general. So while I will be describing the background of the universe itself, know that everything is colored with this satirical brush. So what I'm trying to say is I don't necessarily condone everything that the game talks about, unless you are from the government of Super-Earth, and then I am very serious, I am very patriotic, please don't shoot me. Next, let's get into a bit of context on the government of humanity in this universe. The Federation of Super-Earth government itself, the Democratic Council, is run by what is called managed democracy. This works by citizens using automated voting software where they answer a few questions on the Galactic Wide Web, or the GWW. The GWW itself is a network of interlinked communication devices that transmit data using quantum communication. Once a citizen completes their questionnaire, the computer then votes for them based on that outcome. This was adopted because of what was considered democratic anarchy, where people could just vote for whoever they wanted, and there was no central source of truth. Misinformation and disinformation were rampant. In response, the council proposed managed democracy as a means to combat this. The day that managed democracy was introduced on is October 26th, which has become a holiday known as Liber-tea Day. It is a day celebrated with parades, a 24-hour live stream of the Wall of Martyrs, and children snatching presents from the flames of the Liberty Pyre. It has become a day of reflection on what it means to be free. There is also a citizenship system in the Federation, with Class B and A citizens. While it isn't clear the difference between them, it seems that Class B citizens are the working class of the Federation, and it is said that they get an hour off of work during Liber-tea Day to watch parades. It's also said that every citizen is issued a M2016 Constitution rifle at the age of 16 to encourage service in the military. So military service may be the way to move from a Class B citizen to a Class A citizen. It should also be noted that everything is regulated in Super-Earth, with the government informing every citizen the truth and requiring proper documentation and forms in order to complete certain tasks. For instance, in order to legally have children, a citizen needs to fill out a C1 perm, which is supposedly difficult to fill out. The politics of Super-Earth is entirely based around perpetual war, I mean peace, with the rest of the galaxy, and thus loyalty to Super-Earth is the most important thing. In fact, it's illegal to express negative feelings towards the government. Doing so will result in arrest or execution. Anyone who might even be suspected of being critical of the government is labeled as an alien or cyborg sympathizer or a hippie, and these are all grounds for being arrested or summarily executed. With all of that said, let's discuss the pride of Super-Earth itself, the Helldivers. They're an elite force drafted from the regular army to act as Liber-tea's spear. They wear impressive armor, complete with stylish capes, as they deliver swift death to all that oppose Super-Earth. These legendary heroes of freedom are also armed with a variety of deadly weapons, from sidearms, assault rifles, LMG, explosives, laser tech, and more. They also have access to a variety of vehicles to help them achieve their missions, from powerful exosuits to tough armored vehicles and swift motorbikes. They arrive on the battlefield in hell pods, shock-absorbing tubes that break the atmosphere at extreme velocities, only to crack the ground when they open to reveal their heroic and deadly cargo. The first use of hell pods was when the socialist government of Northman's Creek tried to secede from the Federation. 50 Helldivers dropped directly into the Parliament of Northman's Creek and swiftly executed the socialist rebels, bringing the planet into compliance. When Helldivers need to return to their destroyers in orbit, they call for an extraction shuttle, which will, temporarily, remove them from the battlefield, often to extract vital intel or materials for the war effort. Now, let's discuss the vile enemies of Super-Earth, and thus humanity. The first and most numerous you will encounter in both games are the Terminants, also known as simply the Bugs. These insectoid aliens hail from a desert planet on the eastern fringe of the galaxy known as Kelper Prime. To Super-Earth, they are both a threat and a resource, as left unchecked, they will overrun the galaxy, but their decomposition creates a very rare oil substance called Element 710. They are also subjugated and made into livestock to farm for these valuable resources, but have since broken free and are once more terrorizing the galaxy and threatening freedom itself in 2184. The next enemy of liberty are the cyborgs. These once-human socialist terrorists have broken away from Super-Earth, claiming that the people of the Federation are brainwashed. They hail from the remote frozen world known as Cyberstan, and are obsessed with fusing their flesh with robotic parts. The war officially started when cyborg terrorists detonated an explosive in a city on Super-Earth, killing many civilians. In response, the Federation sought to liberate these former humans and democratize them by force. A cycle which repeats every 5 years as the cyborgs are liberated, brought back into compliance, allowed to self-govern, and inevitably detonate another bomb on Super-Earth, causing the whole cycle to start again. The latest developments of the war seem to indicate that the cyborgs are officially pacified, with a new robotic menace rising, called the automatons taking their place. These socialist robots apparently even steal children from their cribs, so it's up to the Helldivers to put them in their place. Finally, we have the most mysterious race, that of the blue-skinned Illuminate, or Squilf as they call themselves. They're an advanced extragalactic race evolved from an ocean world. They make use of bioelectronics and nanopowered devices, and they were first encountered in the late 21st century when their recon craft were first spotted. These sightings were dismissed at first as folklore until they came forward with a peace offering to the citizens of Super-Earth. This was declined when it was discovered that the aliens had large quantities of world-destroying devices nicknamed obliterator bombs. This was also deemed as sufficient for Super-Earth to launch a preemptive strike to both acquire their technology and prevent them from destroying the planets of humanity. It should be noted that anyone who expresses any support for the Illuminate by even being more tolerant towards them are swiftly met with mass public executions. While they aren't in the second installment of the game yet, they may return. For now, they have likely been defeated and forced to assign a treaty that disallows them from creating an armed forces branch and turn over all their weapons and technology. That is a quick breakdown of the Helldivers universe, one where liberty is spread by unregulated use of cluster bombs, where managed democracy is protected with the gentle touch of an iron fist, where freedom is the right of all sentient beings, as long as the sentient being is human, and where the most important beverage is Liber-tea. I'd like to thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, think about liking the video and subscribing for more content, and hitting that bell icon to be notified when these release. I will be playing Helldivers 2 on the Friday after it releases on my other channel, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive, if you want to check out some of the gameplay yourself and maybe talk a little lore. I'd also like to thank those on screen now for supporting the channel financially. If you want to throw in a few credits, think about becoming a member on YouTube, and if you want a bit more for your contribution, join the Ko-fi or Patreon. Patreons and Ko-fi members get early, ad-free access to all videos, including exclusive early access to my long-running Complete History of Star Citizen lore series. Check those out now in the top right if you want to know what you're getting. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on the lore of Helldivers, and any other lore topics in the comments below. And as always, remember, ex historia ad astra.